So I was feeling a little down and I thought, I'm just going to look for some funny memes. And one thing led to another. And before I was at it, I was pretty knee deep in, like, I had a lot of these. And I thought, I should share these memes. But the memes that I gravitated to were those that kind of told a story about what's going on in Ukraine. And so I'm going to show you about 25 different memes. And in this, we'll see that, like most jokes, they actually are trying to say something. And they're actually very instructive if you know where to look. So we're going to start here. Russian troops, pronouns are were, was. Well, it's not exactly a pronoun. Pronouns are I, you, he, she, it, him, her, ours, yours, that kind of thing. But the point's taken, right? Like, it didn't work out as well as you thought it would. Now, there are memes on the other side as well. Like, this meme is trying to say that the US military industrial complex is just using Ukraine so that they can make profits, but I don't think the Ukrainians are worried about that. The Ukrainians are actually trying to defend themselves, and they are very glad every time they get a new weapon system. And I don't think that they're really terribly concerned about that. Now, this was early on in the war. This is February 24th of 2022. This was Biden telling Putin, now, Mr. Putin, if you cross that line, there will be consequences. I'm serious, Vladimir, not one more step. And I had this kind of sense like, Biden, are you even trying? But now it's reversed where we keep crossing these lines that Putin says, this is a red line, this is a red line, this is a red line, and we in the West are crossing the red line and crossing the red line and crossing the red line. So it actually has worked both ways. I thought this was a very sad meme. This was in an Indian publication. And we need air support in the United Nations. You're doing great. Well, that's not really all that helpful, and they don't get the air support. But what they did have was the Ukrainian Olympic javelin team, who are the gold medalists, clearly, hands down, no question about it. Now, this meme, I don't even know that you need a caption for. You see Hitler talking down to a little Putin, and I've made the argument that the longer you let this go on, the more Putin grows into what Hitler was. Like, people on the pro-Russian side of the equation talk about, well, I don't want World War III. Well, neither do I, and that's exactly why I'm trying to support Ukraine right now, because I don't want it to grow into that. You stop them here, it doesn't spill into the Baltics or wherever, right? And I got a lot of heat for this early in the war. I posted this on Facebook, and some people were, how could you do that? They're clearly not the same. That's not fair to Putin or whatever. It's not. It's not much different. I mean, tyranny is tyranny. Or they would say to me something like, well, their ideologies were completely different. I know. I did my master's thesis on the Third Reich, and that's why I think that this is actually an accurate representation of what could happen if we let it get out of control. Okay, now I find this meme interesting, fascinating actually, because it's not pro-Ukrainian, but we get what it's saying here. Like, so nationality, Russian. Occupation, no, just visiting. Well, okay, so we get it because, like, they're aggressive. That's how this country has behaved for so long, that we see the humor in the misunderstanding, even if it's pretty evil. Okay, next. Now, although the Russians were aggressive, they didn't expect something like this. This is a little scene from Home Alone, the Christmas movie, and the bad guys are trying to get in the house, and this little kid defends the house with all kinds of tricks and contraptions, and yeah, Russia up here and Ukraine down there. And another way of conceptualizing this is, if you think about Star Wars, I think it was Return of the Jedi, the Russians are just like the Empire, and the Ukrainians like the Ewoks, who you never would have thought these guys would have been able to hold them off, but they were able to do it. Like, it's been pretty amazing what the Ukrainians have been able to accomplish. Okay, this I think is one of my favorite memes. I put this on my channel a number of times. By the way, if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. I do videos about Ukraine daily. I'm up to 780 something videos about Ukraine now, and I'm just trying to help provide context about the war in Ukraine. But this video here, Putin poking the balloon that he thinks is going to pop, and it actually backfires and pops him. And to a large degree, Putin never would have done this if he thought that he was going to be here 580 days later. Like, there was no way he would have started this war if he thought that. And then this meme makes a lot of sense too. Like, this guy on the left, he's looking and he sees this great glorious parade, and then puts his glasses on and he sees, wow, the destruction of the tank. Like, what happened here? Well, I mean, you're actually seeing reality now. And this parade, this meme, I remember when the parade, the annual military parade that they have in Moscow came out, and I was like, wow, there wasn't really a lot here. There was very few tanks, and they're not looking all that swift because they have all the stuff at the front. Okay. And then we talk about the strength of the second strongest army in the world. Well, what if it explodes? Don't worry, we have another one, right? Second army in the world turned out to be, what was the joke, the second army in Ukraine, maybe even third army behind Wagner. But yeah, I mean, the Russian army kind of pants themselves on the world stage. And then this, how to catch a Russian soldier. And it's funny because of the looting. Like, it illustrates that, like, this isn't what soldiers were supposed to be doing. They're not supposed to be grabbing washing machines and putting them on their tanks. And, like, what's going on? That leads to this. Here's another rare, medium, well done Russian Black Sea Fleet, if you want it really, really well done. Well, that illustrates the point about the events where the missiles hit the sub and the landing craft in dry dock, and yeah, really well done. Okay, and then we've seen things about the Ukrainian farmers with the tractors pulling tanks away or whatever they were doing, hauling things off. Well, here you go with a ship, and here's another one with a submarine. Ukrainian farmers are at it again, and it just drives home a couple of things. One, what happened to the Russians, and two, just the can-do spirit, the ingenuity of Ukrainians. Operation Z, that's, Z is the symbol of the operation, and here's Operation Control Z. Control Z is to undo something, and so that's a pretty clever meme. All right, Russian invaders, they're sliding down this slide, and somebody superimposed this cheese grater on it, and that's pretty much what happened, because they thought that they were going to be welcomed as liberators and handed flowers, and that's what they were planning on, and they went right into the cheese grater. And then this, I like this. This is his grandmother fighting off an alligator, right? And she's doing a good job, hitting it with a pan and backing it off. And this is what you actually have to do to a bully or to a imperialist dictator that's your neighbor, as Russia is if you're Ukraine. And then we look at Putin, we turn our attention to him. He threatens the world with nuclear war if they interfere with his invasion. This message is from a pre-recorded video while he hides in a bunker in the mountains so his own people don't assassinate him. Like he is really kind of keeping his distance from people, doesn't trust people, very worried that somebody is going to stab him in the back, literally or metaphorically, I don't know, but he's very paranoid, and that's what happens to most dictators. Here's another, and I was talking about with this, the grandmotherly person hitting the dictator, and you have to listen, live right next door to Russia. Types of headaches. You have a migraine in the side, you have a hypertension in the back, you have stress that kind of bands, and then living next to Russia. I posted this on my community wall as well. But living next to Russia, yeah, it's a headache. And this is why NATO hasn't expanded to the east. All those countries that can't move west, they can't pick up and move, have joined NATO for protection. That's what's actually happening there, because living next to Russia, this aggressor is a headache. Okay, I really like this. Somebody was very clever with this. Ukrainian drones with the water coming out, and Russian air defense like a scissor trying to cut off the drones. It's not working. In fact, I read something about just today about 500 drone attacks, 500 attacks within Russia, not drones specifically, but just there have been 500 Ukrainian attacks in Russia since the war began, like that has gone over the Russian border. And do the Russians care? Well, not really, not unless it's Moscow. This is Belgorod. Here's Russian air defense going, oh, and Belgorod, they're getting hammered because the Russians really don't seem to care about Belgorod. But this meme really resonated with me. In the very beginning of the war, as you remember, hey, close the skies. Well, NATO, close the sky over Moscow. Putin holding that sign. Yeah, because they keep getting hammered with drone attacks because the Ukrainians are doing it. Now wait until the Ukrainians can get through with enough of a charge to really make a difference with one of these attacks. It'll be fairly significant. And then finally, this is my favorite one of all of them. Hey Volva, that's a term for Vladimir. Want to hear a joke? Go ahead. Kiev. I don't get it. You're right. You don't. and that is possibly my favorite meme of all of them. Okay, I hope that that was helpful, instructive, that they gave you some insights into what's going on, but also could help you laugh at this somewhat dark time with everything that Ukraine is going through. Thank you for your time and your attention and for caring about Ukraine. Thank you for the likes. If you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. And if you have subscribed, please hit that bell. I'll be back tomorrow, and I hope you will be as well. Thank you. See you later.